Elska. This will be a reading of the Wunjo Meditation from Teutonic Magic by Kveldulf Gundarsson. Well, you stand outside a great wooden hall in the night. An icy wind cuts through your cloak and tunic, blowing sleet and freezing rain into your face. You are lonely and miserable, the crushing of despair, almost a physical weight upon you. Slowly, hopelessly, you raise your hand, knocking on the door. The heavy oaken door opens, showing you a sight of light and warmth. Your mother embraces you and draws you inside, closing the door behind you. Her hug drives the cold from your bones and looses your heavy mood, filling you instead with a feeling of well-being and comfort. All your family sits inside the hall, talking and feasting cheerfully. Your mother gives you a horn of mead, which glows warmly in your belly as you move among your kin, greeting them with joy. After a time, you know that you must leave again. You pass silently out the other end of the hall into the cold and freezing rain of the night. Although the cold is a sudden shock to you after the warmth of the hall, the wind does not bite as deeply as it did before, nor does the night seem quite as dark. Looking down at yourself, you see that you are glowing faintly with a golden radiance, as though you carried the light of the hall within yourself. Heartened for the next steps of your faring, you walk along briskly, even whistling to yourself a little. The storm clouds are beginning to break up. A shaft of cold moonlight shines down onto the road, lighting up the dark figure that stands directly in your path. You see that it is a man in chainmail, tall and strong. Beneath the plain steel cap on his head, you can see that his features are harsh and narrows sharply angled and etched with deep lines of sorrow. His skin is grayish, like pale stone, and his eyes are the cold black of dead iron. He raises a sword in one iron-gloved hand. "Stop," he says. "Turn back. There is no hope for you on this path. This is the land of the dead, the kingdom of dust, and none stay here who have not given themselves up to cold and ice and sadness. If you try to pass, you will fall to the sorrows you bear within you and never leave. Go back to the hall of the living and bide till death brings you here forever." "I fear neither sorrow nor death. Joy is the strength of my bravery," you answer. Stepping forward and drawing your own sword, you fight, blades clashing harshly in the chilly moonlight. The warrior of sorrow beats you back and back. Ice seems to flow through you, weighting your heart and your limbs with a sadness that saps your strength. You wonder if it is worth it to fight, but you remember how the light within you warded you from the cold night. You force yourself to smile, then to laugh raggedly through your harsh breathing as you fight, and your strength comes back to you. Golden light shines brightly around you as you push the warrior of sorrow back to the place on the path where you met him. Then beat his blade aside and whip your own around and into his throat. He falls silently his body flowing into a gray and icy mist. You begin to walk. It is not long before the warrior appears before you again. "Stop," he says. "Turn back." Knowing now that you can beat him, you leap at him before he can finish his words, thrusting your sword straight through his chainmail and into his heart. You go along the path, walking easily through the mist, which does no more than chill your calves and feet for a moment, like a sudden pool of icy water. The third time he appears, looming darkly over your path, you walk straight through him, feeling no more than a shudder. You stride along boldly, cheerful in your knowledge that you can beat back any of the fears held by this country of sadness. It is not long before the sun rises on a very different land. The gently rolling hills are green and lush, starred with the little white flowers of wild strawberries. As you come over one hill, you hear laughter and cries. Walking downward, you see a fair young man who shines with the golden light, standing in the center of a circle of fallen arrows, knives, spears, and rocks, his head thrown back in laughter. The noblemen and women around him are tossing a great assortment of weapons at him, but as each one touches his light, it falls harmlessly to the earth. A tall, beautiful woman in a dark blue dress, adorned with rippling silver embroidery, stands by watching and smiling gently. Her silver-streaked black hair forms a crown of braids around her head. Although she wears no ornament of rank, you nevertheless bow in respect as you come nearer to greet her. You do not voice your curiosity, but you feel that her deep blue eyes look directly into your thoughts. She tells you that she is Frigg, wife of Odin. The shining youth is her son Balder, who cannot be wounded because everything in the world which might possibly do him harm has sworn not to harm him, as if they were part of his own clan. Looking at the bright god, you feel a deep sense of relief at the knowledge that he, the embodiment of joy, is so warded, but you also feel a faint prickling of wariness at the back of your neck and wonder if it is truly wise for the enchantment to be tempted in fun. Balder looks up to meet your eyes and raises a hand to halt the game for a moment, beckoning to you. You go over to him and he greets you as a cousin, embracing you and tracing the rune Wunjo over your heart. A mighty wave of joy and strength fills you, and you feel the light within you brightening with his blessing. You would like to stay with him longer, but you know that you must return to your earthly body now. This you do, feet firmly planted on the earth, knowing that the light of Wunjo is always within you, strengthening your heart and will, yet never blinding you to woe. Wunjo, from Teutonic Magic by Kveldulf Gundarsson. Elska.